You can't make anybody get inner healing. That's not the issue. The issue is just to know that it's available and it makes a difference, okay? But the person is still loved anyway. Even if they aren't seeking help, they're still loved by God. God wants them to come to faith in Him, to come to Him for their problems, come to Him seeking to know Him personally, have Him in their life and all this stuff. How can they know that if we shun the homosexual, the lesbian? So we're not to shun these people that have these problems. Even the pastor who's fallen in disgrace because he's had an extramarital affair, and we remove him from his being a pastor. That's a good thing to do. But on the other hand, we still have, he needs to know that we love him. If we knew him before and we know him now, that we're loving him. That we're not condemning him to a life of being no longer approved of, as a person. So this is maybe a hard thing for us as Christian leaders to get a good handle on and to walk in that for our whole congregation to know. We don't quit loving somebody because we're correcting their behavior. Okay?
I think that part of our fallen nature is that when we disapprove of something as a Christian, we tend to disconnect from it or condemn it, treat it with silence or with hatred or with whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that's because of our own lack of transformation. Yeah.
And we tend to actually get the message to the person that until you change, you are secondary citizen. You're not a full person in our community. That's what the church is saying to many people. Until you change, you're not acceptable. Yes. Well, okay. How do we go from there to loving? You have to ask God to help you love him or her the way he loves them. And that's when that can change. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about this. When I learned inner healing, the one that taught me about inner healing said to all of us, he said, the enemy now identifies who you are. You're a person that's undoing his work. He does not appreciate that. You're taking people from a painful place and you're getting rid of their pain. You're taking people from all these things and it's like they're able to experience the joy of being a believer and walking in what Jesus paid for on the cross. And they hate that. The demons, the Satan, they're just so against that. They said what's going to happen is they're going to try to send people to you just because you're a leader now in this attack on their kingdom, the kingdom of darkness, that can seduce you in whatever way it'll be. And you can just, to me, the list of what the Illuminati advertises is a good list to keep in your mind. It's talking there about fame. It's talking there about wealth. It's talking there about power. And it's talking there about pleasure. So those are likely to be the ways that Satan's going to try to find where are your weaknesses in one of those four areas. Do you see? Or in several of them. That's what, if money is your thing, which is real easy, especially if you're in poverty. I never felt like I grew up in poverty. Here's what actually happened. In our county, which was known as later, when we look back on the records, as the poorest county in the state of Minnesota, okay? In that county, the people that were trying to help, the welfare department was trying to help people, they actually came out to my parents' house. I didn't know it. Some other siblings found out about it, and they told me just a few years ago that this happened. They came out and tried to get my parents to accept welfare because they felt sorry for this family with so many children that were so poor. I didn't know that. Because we had love and we had God, we didn't have the knowledge of what it is to be poor. We literally didn't. Okay? So, but if you're not in that kind of environment and you're poor, that usually means you have a weakness about money. It's like that's a way that Satan can get a hook in you easily, is if he can attract you with money. Okay? So just know that each of us has different things, different weaknesses caused by our past or whatever, but I would look in those four areas as one of those things. Money is one of those four that the Illuminati advertises, right? Have you seen Illuminati advertising, or have you noticed it? Are you aware of it? They're trying to get pastors, musicians, whatever, to get into that because they're offering these four things.
I got a message on Facebook Was it Facebook?
Yeah,
Well, I
probably
sent
was.
it to you.
I think
Yeah.
so.
The Illuminati
yeah,
was
they were
trying to entice
come
me.
to us and we will, we'll pay school fees for your kids, we'll do everything, And so the enemy is specifically targeting, what does he know about you? Where are your areas of weakness that he can capitalize on? That's what he's going to. So they warned us that the enemy is literally, because we're doing this work, is going to try to take us out.
Yeah.
The enemy wants you out of ministry. Now, if you're not a very good minister, or if you're tied up in money and sex and power and whatever, he's going to leave you there. He wants to have that kind of pastor there. So just know that if you are a committed Christian, the enemy is going to try to find your, okay. No.
That's why you need to be wise.
Yes. And not only that, do you know who is letting him do it? God. So when you read in the Bible about trials coming to believers, know that God is letting those trials come. It's to refine us. He's looking for a spotless bride, not one that wasn't tempted. That's not what it's for. He's looking for one that, in spite of temptation, said, God, we want your way. Come and do whatever it takes to take this stuff out of me. That's a weakness of mine, And you can't ignore your weaknesses. Get before God about your weaknesses. That's what this is a call to. Okay? Is that it?
Amen.